There are 7.5 million people in Hong Kong, and the most important one is here with us today.
That's how you're gonna open.
Wow, okay.
All right.
Here we go. It's Wilson's coverage of the festival.
What festival?
Guys,
Which
I'm
festival?
so tired.
Which festival?
Let's wait. The festival's HKIFF 47. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. And I am Wilson Lai.
I'm Benjamin Yap.
I'm Eli Sands.
And you're listening to Deep Cut.
Woo. On Deep Cut, we compare a director's most popular film with a personal favorite chosen by one of us, usually.
We also discuss that director's life and career to bring in context that helps us view their movies as they may want us to.
But that's not what we're doing today, right, Wilson? Because you went off and did something.
Boy, did I do a thing.
Wilson did that.
I am still in the middle of it as well. It's not over yet. It's not over.
Really? It's still going.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or it's going till next Wednesday. So there's still a little less than a week left of this festival. But I did gone and did it. I got myself press accreditation to the newest edition.
Just yourself.
Of Hong Kong International Film Festival, and I am officially covering the festival for this podcast. It's crazy because I feel I told you guys on the chat, I feel like I conned this festival to get a press pass to do coverage, and then Eli said Eli said that the festival conned me into doing coverage of the festival, which, yeah, I guess it's a little goes both ways. It's a little goes both ways.
I have a question. What's the short way of saying the festival's acronym?
It's just HKIFF. People say the entire acronym.
That's too long. I'm gonna
HKIFF.
pioneer HKIFF.
HKIFF.
Terrible.
What is Singapore? SGIF? SGIF?
Yeah, people either say SGIF or SGIFF or SGIF.
Well, then what's New York? Knife?
Yeah, New York is also
NYFF. New York isn't called like the New York International Film Festival. International is a very long word. It's 5 syllables.
That would be NYF.
Here's my goddamn press pass. I will post it. Well, I don't need to post it because it has an ID number.
Wilson is holding up his press pass.
I'm holding up a press pass, and I got 100 of these fucking deep cut name cards with a nice little QR code that I passed around to different people at the festival, some industry folk. Some hot directors have this name card on them now, which I am very honored and feel very privileged to have done. It was sort of crazy because I was really hoping that I would get press accreditation, but I was also ready to not get press accreditation, so then I bought tickets to a bunch of movies as well, which was fine. I saw a couple of them already, and there's still a few more to come, but press accreditation is incredible. Like, you could just go and line up for a movie, you get in for free, and you just watch a movie for free.
What if it's sold out and stuff? Does that happen?
Sold out stuff, they technically say you're not allowed to line up for the movie. It's off limits. But if you show up to the screening, they let all ticket holders in first. And then if there are free seats, which usually for sold out screenings, there's first 2 rows are not sold seats, they're because it's free seating. So ended up being maybe at least 10 or so seats are available, and then I went to a couple sold out screenings that I was able to get seats to.
Nice.
A couple of the movies that I will talk about today.
Wilson, you've been to a number of film festivals now, right? You've seen movies at Berlin, at New York. Aside from having press accreditation, How does Hong Kong International Film Festival stand apart in tone or identity in some way?
I would say the really unique thing about Hong Kong International Film Festival is how its placement in like global cinema. I think similarly to SGIF, they take in a lot of East Asian and Southeast Asian and South Asian films, but also grabbing holdovers from like this year's Sundance or this year's Berlinale, which just happened in months prior, as well as a few films from the previous year that didn't get a chance to screen theatrically in Hong Kong. And I think being at HKIFF and watching these movies with like really big crowds, like even the smaller movies, I really got a sense that there is such a big cinephile community in Hong Kong, which you don't really see a lot because I feel like Hong Kong as a city itself is severely lacking in like rep theaters, rep screenings. So it was really great to see just a big community of people watching these movies. And I also, like, I've been to a couple HKIFFs from last year and the year before, but this year was the first year they've sort of like been fully in person, even though there are some online screenings, which is awesome. But being able to just have that festival fever is just something that I personally feel like so addicted to. Like just going to like 4 movies a day like gets my blood pumping, even though by the end of the day I'm like like all the movies that I saw that day are like melding together into like one big mishmash. I would say that the categories, you have like a regular competition like gala category, and then you have some international auteurs, which a few movies, well, like Frederick Wiseman's A Couple played in that section, and then you have a documentary competition section, as well as there's like, I think there were like 3 retrospectives or like old film sections.
Wow. Of who?
So one of them were just like newly restored classics. So that included the new 4K restoration of A City of Sadness, which was my favorite watch of the festival.
Tell us about that, because you sent a photo of a huge theater.
It was incredible. It was in the biggest theater of the festival, the Cultural Center Grand Theater, and that sat 1,000 people. And it's usually for like operas and that sort of those kind of events. So they only open it up to film screenings for HKIFF, and that was one of those sold out screenings that I got last minute let into.
1,000 seats sold out.
I know. People love Hsien. And like,
that's wild.
Edward Yang's A Confusion, that restoration got a sold out screening there as well that I wasn't able to attend.
I'm sure.
But A City of Sadness is one of my favorite movies of all time. I've decided after this watch. But I think, watching with a big crowd on that new, like, gorgeous looking restoration just really reaffirmed why I think Ho is one of our greatest living filmmakers. And I think the pain he's able to like encapsulate within this one movie is sort of indescribable, and like it's hard to like measure because it feels so great. He's sort of like holding the pain of a whole nation in like one film, which I think is something that's I don't know, it's like awesome. It's like not many directors can do that. And I feel like directors from countries like Taiwan and Philippines and like countries with a lot of like historical collective trauma are able to like create masterpieces like this. So yeah, that Ho movie is incredible. Like if you haven't seen it yet, you gotta.
I think City of Sadness is still my favorite Ho. I haven't seen that many Hsien movies, but I do wonder, like, how long does it take for a film to gain that stature when it comes to representing something like that about a nation or a nation's trauma? Because, like, I wonder how it was thought of when it came out in 1989. Like,
It's true.
and then how long it takes for it to build up its sense that, oh, you know, this film really got it at that time.
I think it depends on the history of the nation itself as well. Like, I think it's really like case by case.
That's true.
And Taiwan is such a I don't know. It's an old nation, but also a very new nation.
Wilson, you said that the audience reaction to City of Sadness was really special to be a part of. Can you talk a little bit about that?
I don't think it was a very vocal reaction. That's the thing. But I think there was really something in the silence. It was a hush that happened throughout the whole movie. And no one was on their phones. No one was talking. It was dead silence. And that was, to put this in perspective, a few days before I saw Plan 75, the Japanese film from director Chie Hayakawa, in that same room. And that was people were shuffling, people were talking, people were not in the mood to watch that movie. I don't blame them. Just kidding. It's not terrible, but it's I have issues.
You're thinking about dying, man.
Yeah. But yeah, that was a big difference between the two. And I just really felt in the film. I feel like I can't say that for most of the films I saw at this festival, but I'm glad that I was there in that moment and I saw that movie with that audience. Pretty incredible.
You said that people didn't get up during the credits as well, right?
Yeah, it was silent. It's the credits ran, and then usually, because it's a festival and people want to go to other movies, they rush out. But there's commotion, people shuffling behind you. But people really sat, stared, and there was a clap at the start of the credits, and then the credits ended, and then people clapped again. And
wow.
That's crazy. Ho Xiaoshan's not even there, and Tony Leung's not even there. None of them are there. So to have
they're on screen, bro. It's the same.
That's true. But to have the urge to clap like that for a Hong Kong audience, I feel like that's very unique. If you go to a rep screening in New York, I think it's people would clap for a film like that. But that was pretty awesome experience, and I'm so glad I was there. And it sits atop my HKIFF 47 ranking, and I doubt anything in the next 5 days of the festival will reach that high. So I think I can clearly say that was my favorite watch of the festival.
Sounds really special.
Yeah, it was.
What were the other retrospectives you were talking about?
So the other two...
I want to hear all about New Blood.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry, go on.
Well, actually, there were 3. Damn. Okay, so there was a Jean-Luc Godard and Anna Karenina. Is that her name?
Karenina? No, that's the novel.
Anna Karenina.
Oh, Anna Karenina. Damn. Sorry, Anna Karenina. And sorry, Anna Karina.
Sorry, Anna Karenina. You would have loved Trains.
There was a Jean-Luc Godard and Anna Karina retrospective. So I think it was all the movies that they worked on together. And then very, very timely, or not timely, but coincidentally, there was a Juzo Itami full retrospective, which...
No way.
Yeah,
Nice.
way.
Whoa. Listen to our episodes on him.
So unfortunately, I have not seen any of those on the big screen, which is sort of a bummer because I really wanted to catch Supermarket Woman on the big screen for the first time. But hopefully, maybe I can catch Mimbo or A Taxing Woman in the days to come. And then the last one was Soi Cheang, who is the festival's filmmaker in focus. So Soi Cheang is a Hong Kong director who's been working for quite a few years. He has a new film that was the opening night film at the festival called Mad Fate, alongside An Heu's new film Elegies. Alongside that, they did a whole retrospective of his films, and I was able to catch 2 of those films. One being Shamo, a manga adaptation that was not that good. But then the first one being New Blood, which is fucking crazy. It is wild. And it was my first Soi Cheang, so it really got me super hyped to explore more of his filmography. So it's a super simple horror movie premise. 2 young people decide to commit suicide together, but then the girl gets saved by 3 random people who gave blood, did a blood transfusion to save her life. And because Oh no, the girl died. The guy lived. And because the girl wanted the guy to die with her, she's like super pissed off. So she starts haunting the 3 people that saved this guy's life. It's like crazy premise, but like.
But not the guy. The guy who didn't die. She doesn't haunt him. He's not off the hook.
No, because he's in a coma. But what she wants them to do is she wants them to kill that guy. So.
Wait, what?
That's so good.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And I think stylistically, Soi Cheang is someone that I feel so akin to or so on the same wavelength of, because he's always trying new things visually, and his lighting choices are all wacky and trying to go for like what will make this scene look as crazy as possible or as cool as possible. So I think I really admire that about his work. And I feel like I need to catch Limbo, which some people on our Discord has been raving about as their favorite film from 2020. Or 2021.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I need to catch that. Yeah.
That's the movie that's supposed to be like really grimy, right?
Mm-hmm. In
The
black and
poster
white.
looks dirty.
Yeah, dirty. But I will also be catching Mad Fate, his new film that's going to open later this month in Hong Kong. Cool.
His posters definitely have like a vibe.
Yeah, they do.
And
they
then he also
do.
did these Monkey King adaptations, which look really out of place.
Yeah, but seems like it's very like Hong Kong, right? Where you have like a one for me, one for them type attitude to working in the industry. And like his new film Mad Fate is sort of like a one for them ish, because I think this might have been the first film that he hadn't written in a long time, and this was written by Yao Nai Hoi, who is a Milky Way, one of the big Milky Way people. Worked with Johnny To a lot, because I think recently Soi Cheang has been taking under the wing of Milky Way, and is one of their most of his films come from their production company, his new films. Cool. So good for him, and good for Johnny To and his team for supporting other filmmakers in the industry like this, because I think it's really important now that the industry is sort of like dwindling, for like Hong Kong directors or auteurs that have decided to stay in Hong Kong and work to really like band together and help each other out.
Yeah.
So it was really glad to see that.
You interviewed Soi Cheang briefly, briefly.
I did.
On the something
red
is it a red carpet kind of
The
deal?
opening night red carpet. So I hadn't seen the film, obviously. So I just asked him a couple questions about being at the festival and making a film. And that was such a last minute decision to go to that red carpet. So I didn't even know. I think I was just going to take some photos of these directors. But then I saw some people like at the corner of my eye, like talking to some of the press people that work for HKIFF. And then I inched closer. And then they're like, do you want to interview anybody? And I'm like, okay. Yeah, I'll interview the director.
Damn, bro.
So it's not
nice.
So Soi Cheang's team came second. The first team that came in was Anne Hoy's team
Tell us about
for LEG. And that was like,
One of
okay, this
Wilson's
was the first day of
heroes.
the fucking festival.
Yeah.
I have not seen any of the movies yet. I'm just like, I'm ready. I'm like excited. I'm fresh. I'm naive. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have a fun time. I just got my press accreditation like approved a few days ago. I'm like, oh, this could be so fun. And then cut to me at the red carpet, about like Anne Hoy's walking over to me, and I'm like, fuck, I don't know what to ask her. So I go, what's it like being
Ask her what her deep cut movie is.
I know, I should have. But I asked her 2 questions.
It's like the letterbox 4 favorites bullshit.
Yeah. It probably would have been better to ask for a 4 favorite.
Why don't we cut to the interview?
Okay, we can cut to the interview. Boom.
So what does it feel like having a film open for the new Hong Kong International Film Festival?
Oh, of course I'm very honored. Yes.
So what can fans of your previous work expect from this new work? I know that's a documentary and it's covering local poets. So what kind of new things will fans of your work expect?
Well, it's about a subject which is quite rare. They will find it interesting or they will find it boring. I don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. Hope you enjoy the night.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Boom, out. Yeah, so those were the two questions that I asked her. You could tell that I'm super fucking nervous up there. And then I warmed up a little, and then I got to ask Soi Cheang a couple of the same questions about his movie. And
let's hear it.
We can roll the clip here.
My name is Wilson, and we cover director filmographies. So we're a director-based film podcast, and I just want to ask, what does it feel like having an opening film at the new Hong Kong International Film Festival?
I'm very pleasure for this time for to show my movie this festival. This is my first time, so I'm happy.
So what can fans of your previous work expect from your new film, Mad Fate?
Oh, yes. I think for the style, for me, it's a difference because my previous movie is a Limbo, totally heavy, but this time I worked with Milky Way again and worked with Lai Hoi. First time I worked with Lai Hoi, and tried to shooting the story not for myself. And for me, it's a very interesting experience for me. But for process, I feel a little bit powerless. Because not easy to shoot this movie, and I try to put it down for myself, put myself a little bit down, and try to follow Lai Hoi's story to shooting the movie. And because the movie is a totally different way, and this scene is a killing scene, this scene for comedy, and this scene a little bit supernatural something. So I try to find a way to how to make it together. I hope the audience do like it.
And one last question.
Okay.
How does it feel like to have your whole filmography, your retrospective, play in the big screen again for local audiences?
I just one hope is I hope the audience will like it. Yes, okay.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you so much. Have a good night. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Great. You guys definitely heard that clip.
Sure did just roll.
You sound very well prepared.
But those two quick director interviews that freaked me the fuck out but also made my day were actually very good warm-up for a much longer interview that I gave later in the week with a director of this new Japanese film called Egoist. His name is Daishi Matsunaga. We spoke for an hour about his film. I really enjoyed this queer love story about a fashion designer who falls in love with a personal trainer. Things happen, not actually quite the usual gay love story type stuff, and then it turns into a story about transferred grief and grieving together and new families. And I thought it was really moving, and the press team at HKIFF were so kind to ask me or to let me interview Mr. Matsunaga about this film. So I also want to thank my good friend Miko, who is a big cinephile as well, who I went to college with, who last minute helped me interpret this hour-long interview with him and did a dang good job of it. So thank you so much, Miko.
Nice.
We will
Thank you, Miko.
probably release a separate special episode with this interview cut for time because we'll just cut the translated bits.
Let's play 1 second of it right now just to tease the listeners.
Interview.
Oh, my pleasure.
All right, that was 1 second of Wilson's interview.
And I mean, this synopsis for this film really doesn't tell you much about what it's gonna be about.
No.
Egoist?
No, it's not. Egoist.
Yeah, it's really vague. I have no idea what it's about.
Yeah. There is a second act twist in it that I feel like you would rather not be spoiled about.
Right.
I think it hits its melodramatic beats really well, and the choice to shoot all in handheld close-ups, basically it's a lot of handheld close-ups, was very effective in adding to the realism of it. I guess there's stuff about being in the closet, but I don't think that is the main like concern of this film, which I'm really glad to see, because so much of Asian queer film is about that sort of tension that you have by being in the closet. So it was nice to see, and yeah, I really enjoyed it. So check it out if it comes your way. I know it's playing in theaters in Japan right now, so yeah, if you're a Japanese listener, go check it out. Good movie. I think I want to talk about a few more new releases. First one, new-ish. This came out last year, and it's all fully available online, but I have not seen it and wanted to catch it on the big screen, and this is Claire Denis' Stars at Noon, starring Margaret Qualley and Joe Alwyn. I was so shocked by how much I loved it, because everyone on Letterboxd seems to be ragging on this dang movie. It's so sensual. Denis does an incredible job of setting a tone of a space for you as a viewer and making you feel like you're there. And this film is set in Nicaragua, where political tensions are super high, and it's dangerous, but also like so sweaty and gross and icky. But through that, she finds like a sort of sensuality between the two leads that are both caught there for different nefarious reasons. And I think they both give an outstanding performance. Denis is a director that has been on my radar for so long, but I've just been so slow on the pickup with her work. But I saw they had a retrospective of her work a few months ago, and I was able to catch 35 Shots of Rum, which I adored. And now this being like the next Denis film that I've seen, I think I just need to go deeper, and I really want to cover on the podcast. Her work is outstanding.
You haven't seen Beau Travail?
I have not.
Oh, Beau Travail is a great movie.
That's crazy.
I got to.
I can't believe you haven't seen it. It's such a Wilson movie.
I've seen Beau Travail, which I really love, and I've seen Trouble Every Day, which I really don't.
I want to watch that one.
I don't remember super well, but I remember not liking very much.
That's the vampire movie? Her vampire movie, I think?
Yeah.
Trouble Every Day? Yeah.
That's her Bones and All movie.
Good stuff.
On Letterboxd, Stars at Noon is her lowest rated film average rating. And then second lowest is Both Sides of the Blade.
I know some people who really go out for Stars at Noon.
Yeah, Fred Hopner's review. Go read it.
Yeah. I'm intrigued. I love the poster. I love Margaret Qualley, but
yeah, check it out. But I also think
I feel like this
watching
is not going to work for me.
But I think watching in the cinema really aided in that. I was very, very zoned in in that screening.
Like any movie, really.
Of course. But this one more so than others. The next film that I'm going to talk about is, I guess, a little bit on the ickier side. It's definitely not for everyone. I think even more so than the Denis film. It's the new Ulrich Seidl movie called Sparta. Ulrich Seidl is not super well known, but he sort of does docu-fiction films. I think that's what he started out doing. So he has this trilogy called the Paradise Trilogy. I've only seen one of those movies, Paradise Love, and his movies are intentionally made to make you feel uncomfortable and make you question your morals and ethics and about the world, like your thoughts on world order and like how things should happen. His new film Sparta, which played at HKIFF, is no different. And it tells the story of this guy who you're a little unsure about, but he's sort of having a rough time with his dad, who's a Nazi, I think, at an old age home. And he's trying to take care of him. And he gets treated like shit by his dad. And then him with his wife and child. And that's not going so well. So then he runs away and he runs to this town in Romania. Well, he's not Romanian, but I forgot where he's from. Sorry, I'm doing a damn bad job at this. But
Ulrich Seidl is Austrian.
Oh yeah, he's probably Austrian. Don't hold me to this. But he runs away from his family, and what he does is he starts this a judo school in this very rundown town, and he starts recruiting boys to go to this judo school. And at first you're like, oh, wow, he's doing such a great thing for his community. He's like doing it for no pay, and he seems like he's really taking care of these kids. And then things start happening. Well, where he starts like making the kids like fight in their underwear, and he starts like touching them and stuff. That where Seidl does this thing where he tries to go as close to the line as possible, that he actually starts pushing the line. And like, that's what I find really interesting about his work, is that how he goes about this wavy middle ground, this like very gray area, because he builds so much pathos for this main character. You feel like you know him as a person and you know his struggles, but also there's this part of him that becomes clearer and clearer to you as a viewer. They're like, this is not all right. This is not a good person. But I don't know. It was riveting. It was riveting. I was glued to the screen. It's tough to talk about. I think a lot of people will be really put off by this movie, but I enjoyed, might not be the right word, but I took a lot out of this movie. So yeah, if you're looking for something that pushes your buttons, Sparta, Ulrich Seidl, go for it.
It's such a hard sell.
It's so funny. As you were talking, I added it to my pressing watch list, and now I'm removing it from my pressing watch list.
Definitely.
Just mark it as watched.
The part that you described of questioning an audience's standing morals sounded really interesting, and maybe I'll start with the Paradise trilogy.
Yeah.
What you said about pushing the line sounds apt.
Yeah. Paradise trilogy's, well, maybe not equally as upsetting, but it is quite upsetting. And I think it talks about stuff to do with like sex tourism and about like white women in African nations. It's like quite icky as well. But I don't know. I'm still trying to wrap my head around him as a director.
This guy's career feels like, what is taboo? Let me make a movie about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's run through the taboos and just go through all of them and make a movie about each one.
Yeah.
I guess that's one way to structure a career.
The way that he shoots his scenes are like, they are all like long takes, like handheld. So it feels like the things that are happening on screen are actually happening. So it's just like a very weird dissonance there that, I don't know, I felt like I was able to connect with, but might be hard for a lot of other folks.
Okay, hot take question.
Yeah.
Is Eric Romero's career also not what's taboo? Go make a movie about it?
No,
I
don't think so. So many of them are not taboo.
Not on the same scale, of course, but like...
I mean, no, definitely not.
Love in the Afternoon. I would say even Boyfriends and Girlfriends.
They're taboo for you, Eli, but not for French people.
What? Rollicking around in the forest isn't taboo? Windsurfing isn't taboo?
No, not at all.
Putting a sweater over your head and making a funny face isn't taboo? Okay,
Definitely
cut
not.
this. Moving on. I want to hear about this documentary, Our Body. Is that the documentary that you were going to talk about?
That's the one I was going to talk about, Eli.
I want to hear about Our Body.
Yeah, this is a documentary by Claire Simon, who I've only seen one other film from, and that film's called The Competition, and it's about like the entry process to this really competitive
the film school.
Film school, yeah, exactly.
That Claire Denis teaches that.
Yeah, I think that in itself wasn't as riveting as this movie, and this movie is about a gynecology wing of a Parisian public hospital and the day-to-days there. It sounds very much like a Wiseman film, and it plays very much like a Wiseman film. You have long conversations with medical professionals helping patients, and you get to hear about all these non-cis male folks talk about their body issues and body problems and that sort of thing. And I think that like with Wiseman's work, in its like the compounding effect of having all these scenes and all these people helping these other people happening in succession to each other, you get a really grand sense of this is important work, and it's so incredible that, to my knowledge, this is free for public because it's a public hospital that this institution gives to people. So you have different scenes of like you see a live birth on screen, which is crazy. Wow. You see a live C-section on screen, which is even crazier. I like a lot of people
That's crazy.
Eke out at the cutting of the whole, and I am a C-section baby, so I'm like, oh my god, that's how
you come into the world.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
Like a little alien. Like Alien the movie.
And then I think there's a couple of scenes and towards the end of this film that sort of step into a higher gear after Simone herself gets admitted and needs to, like, I think is diagnosed with cancer and has a very touching moment in front of the screen, as well as her producer who introduced her to this hospital also getting treated at the hospital. And I think that sort of breaking of the fourth wall moment in this documentary, where the director becomes the subject for a little moment, really made this a little more transcendent than a normal documentary. I do think, compared to the way that Wiseman structures his films and sequences his scenes, I think Wiseman's approach works a lot better, but I think there are things to really enjoy and take from this film from Claire Simon.
I mean, you compared this to a Wiseman film, but then obviously with Wiseman films, he does not have almost at all a personal stake in what's going on in the things that he looks at. Like, how do you think that approach melts with a Wiseman-like style that you say that this film has? Like, does it feel, it almost sounds like it should be disconcerting almost to suddenly have the filmmaker put herself inside.
A little bit.
If she were to so-called have a Wiseman approach.
A little bit. But the way that the film starts out is sort of she narrates a thesis statement for the film where she was like, this hospital is like a 10-minute bike ride from my home, and this is so close to me, and I wanted to, my producer told me it'd be really interesting to examine the goings on at this hospital. You don't hear this narration until the end of the film, so it sort of like bookends the film, and then after that you get into these really long scenes of these conversations happening or these treatments happening. So I think with that framing device, it works because you understand that there's a person, there's a filmmaker behind the camera making this film. Whereas with Wiseman, I think his directorial voice is very hidden from clear view, or subjective voice. So definitely check that out. I really enjoyed that. That premiered at Berlin this year.
Yeah, sounds really interesting.
Yeah.
It's about as long as a Wiseman film as well.
Mm-hmm. It is. It is.
A long boy.
Yeah. I wonder how a couple played in theaters, because I should have caught it. I should have seen it, because it's only 61 minutes or 67 minutes. So I should have gone to see it.
You could have taken a nice nap in the garden.
Ben. Saint Omer.
I really want to hear about Saint Omer.
Saint Omer is pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. I think I watched it, like, unfortunately I watched it at the end of a really long movie day, and that's not always great because I was quite like screen tired, but despite that I was still like very locked in on the performances on screen and the story of these two women. So I don't know if you know a lot about the plot of this film. So I think it's based on Alice Diop, the director's own like experiences attending a trial of this immigrant woman. So one of these actresses, Kaije Kagame, plays the Alice Diop like stand-in who's attending this trial of this woman called Lawrence Coley, who's accused of murdering her own or killing her own child. And we get to see her questioning from both sides and her explanations for why things ended up the way that they did. And through this, she paints a portrait of a really tough life. And Rama, the Alice Diop stand-in, starts to find connections between her life and Lawrence's life, or her mom's life and Lawrence's life. So I think that was really interesting because it's not a really clear connection, but I think the way that Diop tells the story with flashbacks, it becomes understandable to a viewer. And I think that's a really tough task to do. And yeah, it's just really compelling cinema, and I'd be very interested to watch it again. I don't think I'm as hot on it as a lot of other people are, but maybe that was just how I was feeling during the screening.
That's one that I'm really excited to watch.
Yeah.
Yeah, same here. Like, I want to see this. It's one of the ones I missed from last year.
Yeah, it's on VOD, right? It's on VOD right now.
It's in theaters here in New York. No, it was recently in theaters here in New York.
I think that is most of the films that I want to talk about. I did see another doc that I liked quite a bit called A Still Small Voice. Like, really interesting main subject of the documentary, and really, like, I think moving work about the work that hospital chaplains do. And I think the director, Lorentzen, was making this documentary but shot it basically like a narrative feature. It looks like so staged, and because I was going into this really blind, like for the first like half an hour I was like, this is not a documentary. And then I had looked it up and I was like, oh wait, this is a real life person. It's pretty wild. I think it's great. Eli, you have it on your watch list, because I think our friend Keith, who runs Cinemush, saw it at Sundance and gave it a really rave review. Yeah, I would say definitely check that out. That's not on a lot of people's radars. Yeah, I'm very happy with the movies that I saw so far, and I still have a few to come.
What's on the radar? What are you excited about?
I'm seeing the Hong tomorrow. I'm seeing the new Hong in Water tomorrow.
Ooh,
and after having topped my 2022 list, not that I have high hopes, but I'm like, I think I'm gonna really love it either way. So I might just add a little edit to the end of this episode talking about that movie, and I'm also gonna catch A Fire, the new Christian Petzold, on Monday.
Oh,
ooh.
And that's also something that I'm really excited about. I think people are a little more lukewarm on this one after it premiered at Berlin.
Lukewarm on a fire.
I know. But I have not seen a Petzold that I did not like and feel really connected to. So I have decently high hopes for that.
His last film was Undine, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been
a while ago. Yeah, it was. It has been a while.
Like 2017?
2020, actually, apparently.
Yeah.
Feels like a while ago, probably because it was pre-COVID.
Yeah. I feel great about being at a film festival. I've just remembered how fun it was to just run to different movies across town. And I think just being in that mindset and like just going around the city, but this time it is like my city that I grew up in. It's just awesome because the last few HKIFFs that I've been to, I went to like a few screenings here and there, but this year I was like, I've been watching like 2 to 3 movies a day at the cinemas, and it has been so fulfilling, especially after the start of the year this year for me, which has been very like slow on the movie watching. This has really allowed me to like kick it into high gear for a little bit.
Yeah, dude.
And it was perfect timing with the school holiday. Yeah, I just fucking love film festivals, guys. Like, if anyone's listening, please give me press accreditation to other ones that I apply to. Hopefully, this won't be the last.
And you'll be getting more of this exciting content.
Exactly.
On an aging media platform that is not TikTok.
And I don't know, I hope you guys also get to go to like festivals to represent Deep Cut. Like, I think it's just really cool. Like, I was able to talk to a lot of folks, like other press or people that worked for the festivals or directors about the podcast, and they all seemed very cool about it. Maybe they were just being nice to me, but it's just good to hear that it's like, oh, you're making a podcast about like directors and covering parts of the filmography. That's super cool. Like, yeah, I don't know.
It is
Just a good thing. Just a good thing.
We should try and go somewhere and get press
Together?
accreditation.
The 3 of us.
I don't know whether they'll give it to us.
Con?
We just need to con another festival.
Con?
Nah, let's do like
Gosh.
Venice or something. Like let's go to a cool place with good food. I mean, Cannes would have good food too, but it's so crowded.
No. Venice sounds nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Berlin is
Over this year?
I love Berlin. It's over. It is over.
But it's like also Busan. Apparently it's pretty easy to get the thing from Busan, the platform at Busan.
I love how we're like sort of what are we calling it? Game talking. What is that term? Baseball? I forgot it.
Insider baseball?
Meta talking.
Moneyball.
Insider talk. Insider talk about getting into film festivals.
Is there like a Hawaii film festival? Let's go somewhere that's good to vacation, you know?
Ooh, I'm sure there is a Hawaii Film Festival. But the last thing I want to say about HKIFF is that, well, I think most festivals are like this, but like Sundance isn't, I think Cannes isn't, but HKIFF is really great because it's more public facing, and festivals that increase that is aimed at being super accessible to the public is the best kinds of festivals.
Totally.
This year, there were 28 Hong Kong dollar student tickets, and 28 Hong Kong dollars is like $5. It's like less than that.
That's great.
That is so cheap to watch a movie. So many university students, so many high school students were at the movies this festival. I saw them there. It's so great, like such a great idea to get those seats filled with these cheap tickets and get people watching these movies and like growing their love for movies. Like, it's just so smart. And what I like, my biggest ask of HKIFF is just more screenings, more theaters, just more. Give me more.
How many films did they screen? Do you know?
It was, I think it's around 200, the total
Oh, damn, dude.
films. It's pretty.
It's a lot.
It's quite a lot. It's spread out over maybe 6 theaters in the city.
You want more movies?
Okay, not more movies, but
have some more.
But I think the fact that it was limited to 6 theaters,
Right.
and each film, because there's so many films, each film basically got 2 screenings on average.
Yeah.
Like, it would be nice to have more screenings. Like, I think Berlin has like maybe 4 to 5 screenings per big movie. And I think just opportunities to see the movies, because a lot of the hot movies like sold out. Like, all the Hong Sang-soo screenings sold out. The Petzold screenings sold out. The An Hui screenings sold out. Like, there is a demand for it. And I'm glad that HKIFF now knows that there's a demand for it. So hopefully next year there will be just more.
Do you think the festival has changed since like previous years for this edition?
I think
was more par for the course.
Yeah, I think it was pretty the same as before.
All right.
But I think the student thing was a big difference this year. And that was really good to see. But I
like
think
courting more people.
Yes,
like
courting more
audiences.
people. Exactly. But just seeing it from the press standpoint this year has been really eye-opening and invigorating, and I'm just like feel really lucky.
Yeah, watch out, HKIFF. He's gonna be there every year now.
Yeah, now that I have one year of HKIFF under my belt, yeah, I'm gonna come back every year. Yeah.
Well, I'm glad to hear about your experience at HKIFF. Hope the new Hong is good.
Yeah, you guys will find out on
to round out
Letterboxd
this
tomorrow.
Yeah.
And also you listeners will find out in a couple seconds as well. And I will link a list of the films that I caught at the festival in the description of the podcast, and also be on the lookout for the Daishi Matsunaga interview that we'll be releasing soon. And fingers crossed, there are some talks of some extra interviews that I might be able to do. So maybe that will happen, but no promises. Hi there, this is Wilson from the future. I am doing a little pickup because after we recorded, I still had probably like 5 more days of the festival left. And it turns out some of the best films that I saw at the festival I watched in those 5 days. So I'm just going to highlight 4 must-watches or highly recommended films that I saw in the last few days. The first of which was Elvis Aliang Lu's documentary, A Holy Family. And this right now is my highest rated new film of the festival and my highest rated film of the year. It is a very simple documentary that Aliang made about his family, his 2 parents and his older brother, who he left 20 years ago to go to Taipei and start pursuing filmmaking. And after 20 years, he's returned and he documents 4 years in his family's life. And this is an incredibly powerful and personal documentary. I wrote this in my Letterboxd review and you can read it, but I sort of compared this to the thematic goals that were set by the Daniels in their Oscar-winning film, Everything Everywhere All at Once. And what I mean by that is that I think EEAAO tries to tell this experience of a really like typical Asian family that is never quick to emotion, rarely shows affection, and how through one character's plight, they're able to start bonding and start healing together. And this documentary actually does a similar thing with Aliang returning to his family and filming them and having them talk to him about these really intense and heartbreaking things. They start opening up and like real genuine feelings from within start coming to the surface. And the screening that I was in, like everyone was crying. You could hear the weeps at the back. I think people around me understood what this show of affection meant and how like incredible to see that on screen. So that was highly, highly recommended. I don't know if it has international distribution yet. The documentary had like 100 production companies at the start of it. So hopefully it gets an wider international release. That is A Holy Family, directed by Elvis Aliang Lu. The second film that I want to talk about is, well, I can't not talk about the new Hong Sang-soo, especially because Hong topped my 2022 best of list. So this is his newest film called In Water that premiered at Berlin Film Festival earlier this year. Notoriously well known on Twitter for being shot out of focus. And I think this was a choice going into it that I was trying to understand. And I think I only finally got after watching the film. It is not only a reflection of Hong's deteriorating eyesight, but also I think it makes the images incredibly painterly. Like most of these out of focus shots happen outdoors and you're really paying attention to shot compositions, the shapes you see on screen, and also actors have to rely less on their face and more on their body. And I think this works well with Hong's mode of filmmaking, where he's doing these long takes and he's making these actors really fully embody their characters and showing it in a really physical sense. Yeah, I think this was really good. I really resonated with Hong's attitude towards expressing the joy and the love and the trials and tribulations of filmmaking. The characters that he centers this film on are naive, they're young, they're fresh, but they want to make movies. And I think that Hong presenting this kind of filmmaking and having that as like an outlet to show why he loves filmmaking and the mode of filmmaking that he operates in, with very little crew members, coming up with stories on the fly, on location, makes it seem like such a magical thing. And having just gotten off of a short film set, it just reminded me why, like, the act of filmmaking itself, not the film, but just being on set and making moves and making movies is such a gratifying thing. So thank you once again, Hong Sang-soo. It's a great movie. Go check it out. The third film I want to talk about is also another new release, and this was sort of a blind watch. I went to it with my friend Ethan. We saw Laila Alvilez's new film, Totem, and this is a film that's set over the course of a day. Sol, who's a 7-year-old girl, is preparing to celebrate a big family celebration of her dad's birthday. And through the course of the day, through this very naturalistic handheld documentary-like cinematography, we get a sense of this large family and how they're coming together to support Sol's father, who's not doing too well. And I think this sort of creeping in of dread and grief and loss, sort of like preemptive loss and preemptive grief, is really powerful. And I think the way that the film matures into what it ends up being is something that's pretty incredible. And I don't really want to spoil things, even though you sort of know what's going on by half an hour in, but where the movie takes you emotionally and how lightly and simply it does it is something that I think should be studied. And I really want to go back to this film and see if it was as like rapturous as I initially made it out to be. So that's Totem. The last film that I'm going to talk about is a restoration of, I think, a wildly underseen Taiwanese new wave classic called Dust of Angels by Xu Xiaoming. And I think at the start of the festival, I wasn't really super interested in catching this film, but then my friend Kelly, who was at the festival as well, told me that this was her favorite watch of the festival. So I made it my mission to catch it in the last 2 days of the fest. And I'm really glad I did. I think the restoration looks gorgeous. I think the restoration itself looks better than the City of Sadness restoration. I don't know why. The colors, the crispness of the image, I think it just popped a lot. And I was very impressed by the quality of the restoration. The film itself is great. I think if you are a fan of Taiwanese New Wave, you will see a lot of familiar faces. Like the guy that plays the older brother in City of Sadness has a role here. And if you have seen Edward Yang's 4-hour epic, like one of the best films ever made, A Brighter Summer Day, one of the characters who plays Ma in that film is one of the leads in Dust of Angels. And Dust of Angels is sort of a crime epic that follows these two young boys who sort of get caught in this gang war and leads them to very dangerous places. But I think a simple story backed by really strong visual and oral style makes this pretty like top tier. Like, I think I was really impressed. I like went in not having super high expectations, but was really blown over by the acting, the long takes, the camera placements, and also the soundtrack. Everything was like really working together to convey this sense of place and sense of time, and not so much the sense of helplessness that these kids are having, but I think there's sort of like a balance between the coolness and the wannabe-ness of like, oh, let's be gangsters, that's portrayed through the visuals, and then the stark reality of what actually happens to them. Yeah, those are the extra 4 films that I saw at the festival that I wanted to highlight. And I hope to be back next year. Cool. Peace.
I'm glad you had fun. It was fun to imagine you running around Hong Kong to different screenings.
Yeah, what would have made it even more fun if I was running around with you two.
Oh, I agree.
Wish you could
That'd
be
be
there.
fun.
Yeah,
There's
you
always
guys
next
take
year.
a trip to Hong Kong.
Hong Kong's a short bound away.
Yeah, I was talking to Ben about maybe going to Singapore this December for HKIFF, so maybe that we can make that happen.
For a little bit, right? See if we can make it happen. See if they'll give me press accreditation. They already know me.
I don't know if HKIFF gave me press accreditation, I feel like HKIFF it could happen.
But they do like having like people go back, people who have participated in the festival in like its various parts to come back and like help and stuff. Like they had past participants of the critics program come in to talk. Like ad hoc, they were just there doing photography. They were like, okay, how about you talk about your experience? We were like, oh, okay. So I feel like they like having familiar faces around.
Yeah. And part of the application for press accreditation was like, have you covered this festival in the past? And I feel like if that's a yes, then that's an immediate, like, yes, you are getting this press accreditation.
It would be nice to go to the festival and give out like 2 name cards.
Yeah.
And then you get the collector's edition business cards from previous years. Here's my
look at that,
2023
yeah.
business card, but here's my 2047 business card.
Oh no.
Wait, 2047? Why not 2046? Anyway, let's wrap it up.
Okay, cool. Thank you for listening to this episode of Deep Cut. Please rate and review because that helps us keep making the show. Be sure to subscribe to us where you listen to podcasts so you'll know when our next episode drops. Keep up with Deep Cut on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and Letterboxd at Deep Cut Pod. Join us to talk about movies on our Discord server, to which you'll find a link in the description. Thank you again to Justina Yam for our beautiful artwork. I'm Wilson.
I'm Ben.
I'm Eli.
Take care, and we're looking forward to talking about more movies with you next time.